Hey everyone, welcome back to Casey 3D Sparks. Today we are going to be continuing our Aboleth. So today we are going to be creating our tentacles and maybe being able to add some of the details for the fins that are on his tentacles. So to get started, basically I'm just going to go ahead and select the body and I'm going to go into side view and then just kind of tilt towards the back. So right now kind of our issue area is we kind of left off where he's not as circular anymore. He kind of has some extra loops that were added in that made the subdivision surface go a little wonky, and then we had extrusion, so he kind of has this bump on top of his head. So we're going to kind of fix that, and we're going to set up the topology so that way we can extrude out these tentacles. So let's go ahead, and as we are in edit mode, so just hit tab to get back into edit mode. I'm going to do Control 1 to get on the exact back piece. Now, if you want, so that way you're not looking at all these other pieces, we can go ahead, hide all of our teeth, and of course you can always go through and group all of the teeth together. I'm not going to bother, I'm just going to go ahead and hide them all. And instead of hitting all of these eyes, we can just tab out of edit mode, hit A to select everything, and I'm going to go ahead and deselect the main body here and the eyeballs, and just hit H for hide, so that way I don't have to worry about all those extra outlines. And then go back into edit mode, and if you want we can go, let's do side view, so I don't have to worry about clicking any of this extra stuff. What I'm going to do is do Z for wireframe view and grab all of these. I'm just also going to hit H for hide, so that way I can only edit this back part here and not have to worry about clicking anything extra. Okay, so now what I want to go ahead and do is start, let's move this out, make this wider, because like I said, we're not making this taper back like a regular sphere. It should be coming more out, so having it come out will work nicer. So let's do like that. So now one thing we could do, or one method we could try for our tentacles, is I'm just going to go ahead and alt right click so we get this outer loop here. I'm going to do E to extrude, and I'm just going to hit S and size that in. I'm going to drag it along the X a little bit more, size that in some more. I'm going to do that again, do E to extrude, size that in. Grab these and pull them to meet in the center. So now that we have that set up, I'm going to get out of wireframe view so I can look at it just a little bit easier. And we can use these to set up the actual tentacles. So what I want to do, I'm going to grab this one, start pulling this out, and start making this more of a circle. And actually, what I might do, undo that real quick, do Control R and add another loop in here so we have a little bit more to play with. All right, so I'm going to grab this, and I want his tentacles to be a little large, so we'll do it like that. And it may not be very clear yet, but you'll see momentarily how we'll make this work. So that should give us 6. So if we do these 4, these 4, and these 4, that will work, but we're going to have to go into our modifier tab, uncheck clipping. I'm going to go into top view, hit E to extrude, pull that out. I'm just going to pull them out a little bit so that way these become separate. Put clipping back on, and we can edit out the bases of these tentacles, but it is a good start. Now, when you're looking at the picture, you'll notice it's definitely not perfect. It does lump out a little bit. He has more of a hunch here. So you don't have to worry about this being completely and perfectly smooth. Feel free to kind of like just take a little bit of freedom with it and have it be a little bit more lumpy, I guess you could say. So if we go back over here, we can kind of emulate that as well. So I'm going to switch back to vertex select mode. And actually, I'm going to do Alt-H to unhide this now that I have this back piece set up, so that way I can just look at everything. So now, I'm actually going to pull this out and down. And pull this back. Size these together a little bit closer. And just kind of start shaping out the base of your tentacles a little bit better, so that way you aren't editing it at the last second. And then in, we'll grab this guy, pull that way in, pull this down. And this part right here, I'm just trying to pull close enough that it doesn't attach like that. So we'll probably do right about here. Same with this one. And actually, since we're doing that one, we might want to pull this one back out a little bit to help make it a little bit more circular, but obviously not perfect. Pull this up. Not bad. I think I'm gonna pull these down. There we go. Trying to make it a little bit less triangular. But again, it doesn't have to be perfect. All right, so I'm gonna leave those bases for now and go ahead and select these guys. Go into side view. And let's just do E to extrude and pull that back. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this one, maybe pull that up and out a little bit. Oops. You'll notice it got attached, so let's actually undo what we just did and try that again. So we're gonna have to pull that more like that. Now, one thing to note is if you want, you can certainly model it in the position that you want, so you can take it down, kind of like how we did with these little tentacles, and model it as it is. But next week I am going to rig it So I'm just going to be pulling them out and shaping them, and so that way it is ready to be rigged. But of course, if you don't want to rig it, then you can certainly start taking them out, curving them down, and creating it in a way that you want it to be printed. But for me, I'm just going to be pulling them straight back for now, essentially. Now, I'm going to go ahead and switch this to individual origins and size them down. Oh, I forgot to do E to extrude. Hold on, let me undo that real quick. E to extrude, pull that out, and then size them down. Okay, that's better. And again, I'm gonna go back and keep editing the shapes a little bit. So I wanna grab this and just making sure they become more circular. Because sometimes as you pull it out, you realize once you start shrinking it down that it's like not quite what you thought it would look like. Actually, let's grab this whole strip and pull that out. Pull this guy up. And even though I'm working on the tentacles, I'm still editing a bit of the head as well to smooth that out and make it just look a little bit nicer. Where is this vertice? So this part isn't too exciting, I know, but we're just going in, editing, pulling out, editing again, so that we can get our shape exactly how we want it. Actually, I'm gonna pull this guy up. Pull this one out, that one out. There we go. That's looking better. Don't forget to continuously save as you go along. Trust me, it helps. That way, if you do something, you always can go back and just reload your save file. It's very nice to have that to fall back on. Let's go ahead and pull that out. Cool. All right, so I'm going to do that again. Grab these faces. Oops. Side view. Need to extrude. Let's see. Now, they are different sizes, so I'm gonna pull these right about there. And I want, let's see, I'm probably gonna do the thickest one as the long one. So I know it won't quite match the picture, but we're just gonna go ahead and do E to extrude and pull that all the way to the back. Size that down. And I did forget to size these down. I might actually make them a little longer. So this is the part again where, oops, you can just take your creative freedom and kind of size the tentacles how you want. I'll probably do it like that. Size that down. That's looking pretty good, actually. Okay, so for the main tentacle, the longest one, it does have a fin on it, and it has these ridges, and it's kind of coming out from the center. So if you wanted, you could probably even combine this top one and make it the longest instead, which I'm kind of thinking I want to do. So I'm just going to edit this a little bit. So I'm going to leave these mostly how it is. I'm actually just going to push this back a little bit. And if we want to combine this, it won't be too hard. I'm going to grab these do X and delete those vertices. So now we can just have these combine. The only thing is we just want to make sure it all sizes over properly. So first, let's go ahead, grab what we can. So let's grab all of these. I'm just going to go into side view, Z, border select, and grab all of those, and then unselect any extras. Unselect, deselect. We're just gonna push that together. Deselect these guys. Now we just need to round it out. So if we grab this, pull that up. There we go. That one's there. E to extrude this one, pull it towards the center. Face that off with F, and unfortunately it does make one triangle here, but we'll just face that off. Make sure everything's connected, and now the only other thing we have to be concerned with is this piece back here. So there's still some extra faces and whatnot. I'm gonna go ahead and hide our subdivision surface modifier so we can look at it a bit easier. So we have this vertex in here. It needs to come out. So if we do X and delete those, there we go. That fixes some of our issues. Let's pull these in. There we go. And then let's go ahead and focus in on up here and make sure there's nothing extra out on the inside, which this is. So we'll just delete that. Pull this down to make that a little bit more circular at the base. And that works out pretty well. Perfect. Okay, so now I'll go ahead, grab these faces, go into side view again, E to extrude, and pull that all the way back here most likely, and then size that down. And we can look at the fin. So for his fin, he has one little boop right there, and then he has this whole piece here. So for the first little bit, I'm gonna go ahead and do Control R. And instead of doing like this where we slide up, because then we'll only be able to move them left and right, I'm gonna do Control R, left click, right click, and then do Control R and pull that in to right about there. I think will look pretty good. So we'll have just this face selected. Do E to extrude, pull that up. I'm gonna turn subdivision back on so we can look at it. And let's see. It just kind of goes out and has that little connection. So what I'm gonna do is just leave that right there. Do E to extrude again and grab that and pull it back. Go back to vertex select mode. Push this and this like that, and then to give it a little bit more separation, we'll do just like that. There we go, and just sharpen that a little bit with Shift E to kind of pull that in just a bit. Okay, so there's one, but you'll notice once you go to the side, it's not quite as round as we would like. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab these two vertices and push them down to round that out a little bit better. And if you wanted, you could even do a Control R to try and create it a little bit more fin-like, or what would be easier is go ahead and add another loop here. Push, Control R, push that up. And then we will grab these vertices, push them in, and probably back a little bit to create more of that fin shape. So let's do Shift E. There we go. That way we get kind of that ridge there. Okay. Now for the larger part at the end. This part's going to be a little bit different. I think what the easiest way to do it, instead of creating it all at once, kind of like we did with this one, it would be easier to make kind of these fleshy parts first and then worrying about the webbing in between. So what we can do is do this main large one first, branch off of that main one would be the easiest way to do it. So let's focus on just creating this. So we'll extrude it some more with the length that we want. So what we'll do is do A to deselect anything, C for wireframe view, B for border select, E to extrude, and just pull that out to however long you want it, and I'm just going to size that down. I think that's plenty long enough. So now he has, you don't of course have to do the exact amount, but I'm going to try to do close. So he has 1, 2, 3, and 4 parts that come off of one side and 2 on the other. So let's focus on the 4 first. Let's do, so I'm going to try to add 10 loops first. So just do Control R, scroll up 9 times and add those in. I'm just going to go ahead, switch back to face select, go down here, and I'm going to do both of them. So if we do these 2 like that, actually, let me look at the picture real quick. This one has a larger gap, so what we'll do, 1, 2, skip these and do it like that instead. E to extrude and pull them down. Start off a little bit like that. So this one we'll do S because we still have it on individual origins. I'm going to go into wireframe view and switch back to vertex select. E to extrude, grab that, pull it down. So this one is kind of the longest, so we'll just pull that down to there. E to extrude, grab that, pull that down. And for this one, I'm just going to do a small extrusion. That way I can basically just get that curve. Now, it's not rounded on the back part, so what I want to do, I can't alt-right click because it's going to grab everything, or we can do alt-right click and just deselect all the other stuff, which might be easier. Go ahead, deselect these outer ones and just keep the inner. Yeah, it probably would have been easier to just select them. Thought I'd try this. Oh well. And pull those back. A little bit of editing. It probably would have been easier if we had already fixed that at the top, but I didn't notice, so we're just going back and fixing those now. Okay, and we'll just do the top two real quick. So they're not quite the same as these, so what I'm gonna do is this face and probably this face I think would be good. Do E to extrude, grab those, pull them out, and E to extrude again, pull them out. Go ahead and sharpen this a little bit. Actually, I might sharpen the whole thing. Let's pull that in. You'll notice it is flat again. It didn't size the way we wanted to. We'll go ahead and push these back in so we can round them back out. Okay, so now we want to go ahead and add the webbing. So to do that, we're going to use bridge. So for the first example, I'm going to grab this face and hit spacebar and start typing in bridge and hit enter, and that will bridge them. Now the only problem is you'll notice that it has added a face up here instead of connecting them, which is fine. All we have to do is do Control R, add a loop here, delete these faces, and we'll just merge them real quick. So we'll do this one and this one, do Alt M. I'm gonna do at first, and then for the other one we also just need to delete these back faces. So if we do back to face select, X, and delete those faces to get them out. And then you can just make sure that these are connected, which they are. Perfect. So there's that webbing. And you can either just draw this down, which might be easier. So let's go ahead, grab these two and pull them down just like that. Grab this. Now its webbing goes pretty far down to the edges of the tentacles, or pieces. Now obviously mine are a lot thicker. That's so I can make sure it has plenty of space to print, or else these could be a little bit more wispy looking if we were animating this and making it something else. But let's just go ahead and grab these and pull them down. More like that. Do that here. Spacebar, bridge, delete those two faces. Not that one, we need this inner one. X, faces. And it's already connected. Yeah, so that one worked out well. All we have to do, we'll just grab this face, pull that down. Nope, I'd rather do it individually so that way we can keep it a little bit more balanced. Just pull that right there. Pull that right about there. Spacebar, bridge. That's the wrong face. That's the right face. Delete those two. Grab these, pull that down, and that one can stay right there. Now for this one, it's a little bit different because we can't do bridge, unfortunately. If you do this, do spacebar bridge, it's gonna error out. So unfortunately that won't work. But we can still just go ahead and grab these two vertices and just pull them out. Like that. Works just as well. Okay. For the top, we're basically going to do the same thing, but you'll notice we don't have that loop. So if we do Control R, it's going to add it all the way down. So we just want to make sure before we go crazy and just start editing everything that it doesn't mess up the front here, which it doesn't really. Yeah, we can leave that. I'm just going to puff this out a little bit so it's not as narrow. Yeah, that's better. Okay, I might make that eye bigger later, but for now, let's keep focusing on his fins. Focus in on this. Face select. This one and this one, spacebar bridge. Control R, since we have that gap there. So we'll have to, this one, and the inner ones. Delete those and these. Alt M at center. Oops, not one. We need the side view. Go ahead, pull that up. Just like that. All right, and then grab these two. Pull that. Oh. There we go. So just keep editing that until you are happy with it. We're just kind of like pushing these vertices together. All right. There is one of our fins. So obviously we'll go back. We can edit that to make it a little bit more clean, but that is a great start. Next thing, he also has some on another one. So let's do this other part to right here, and we can do these fins to the one on the other side. So we'll have to apply the mirror modifier for that. And I don't want to do that yet because I want to go back and just make him look better first. Go in, add more detail, and just clean him up before we worry about adding those. And then we can go ahead and do the rigging. So what I'm going to do is tab out of edit mode. Do Alt H so that way our teeth are unhidden, so we can make sure they're all still good looking, which I probably want to go and edit them as well. So what I'm going to do is probably do a bunch of edits. So what I'll just go ahead, post this video as is for now. Hopefully you guys enjoy this tutorial. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate any feedback and any requests for the future. And then I want to just go ahead and go in and do some editing on my own, and I'll record it, maybe put it up in case you guys are interested in watching the speed model of how it all gets fixed. And then we'll go ahead and do the rigging. But since you guys understand how to do the fins, it's a little bit large, so it's probably going to be sized down in proportion to his head. Other than that, make sure you guys just go ahead, put questions down below, or I have a Discord, that kind of thing. But yeah, so you might get a bonus video before the rigging tutorial next week to explain how to get the rest of this just fleshed out and looking better. Other than that, thank you again so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next week.